So it's that time again where we team up with Thermaltake for another sponsored feature build. Thermaltake recently released the new SWAFAN EX fans, so the fans with swappable blades. They have some new features in these EX versions. So this is the perfect opportunity to take a look at these fans and build a pretty amazing spec system. We've got a bunch of other Thermaltake goodies for the build: an i9-13900KS CPU, an RTX 4090 graphics card. So let's see what we can come up with. So these are the new Thermaltake SWAFAN EX fans with swappable blades. I did a video on these, I think, towards the end of last year. The standard SWAFAN versions, not the X. The EX are out now. These have got some extra features compared to the original versions. These are available to purchase now. You can get them in 12 and 14 versions, so 120 and 140mm versions. They come in these 3-packs. The 3-packs are available to purchase in the UK from scan.co.uk. The black 120mm versions are priced just under £100. You do have to pay a slight premium for the 120s in white though. These are priced around about £120. The 140mm versions, no matter whether you buy them black or white, in these 3-packs, they cost the same. 3-packs of those are just under £120 also. So like the original SWAFANs, the EX have swappable blades. So no matter whether you want to install these as an intake or an exhaust, you can screw the fan in position with this face pointing into the direction you want to see. But if you want it in intake or exhaust, all you need to do is swap the fan blade. So you just press the blades, they just pop out like that. This one is the intake, and you can just swap it for the exhaust one. Pop it in place, press down, and it's as simple as that. There is a possibility that if you're swapping these over regularly, you could potentially introduce some dust or dirt into this bearing. Not a big problem, I don't think, because I can't imagine you're going to be swapping these over every 5 minutes. But you do need to make sure that that surface, that bearing surface, is always clean and lubricated when you reassemble the fans, when you're swapping the blades over. The original SWAFANs came with a small tube of lubricant in the box. I'm sure these will have that as well. So as I say, just to reassemble these, just pop them in and just press them in until you hear that click, and that is it. So the EX is extremely similar to the original SWAFAN. It has a speed range of between 500 to 2000 RPM, maximum air pressure of 57 cubic feet per minute, a maximum airflow rating of 2.39 millimeters H2O, maximum noise output of 30.6 decibels, and it has 2 RGB lighting zones. So there's a ring around the outside, and the blades also illuminate with RGB, and these are controlled, or the effects are controlled, by the Thermaltake TT-RGB Plus 2.0 software, and in the box the 4th generation controller is included. As well as the 4th generation RGB software controller, you get all the cables for the fans. You can see these have a proprietary connection, so they must be connected up to this controller to work. Another bag full of cables to connect up there, and that's the tube of lubricant as well that you get for swapping the blades over and re-lubricating the bearing. But the main feature of these new EX fans compared to the original SWAFAN is that they can be connected together, and it's magnetically. So you might remember a build I did for Asus a few months ago. I showed some Seasonic fans in there. They were the MagFlow fans connected together, very similar to these. So just bring the fans together and they connect together manually, and they'll make an electrical connection there, and you can connect up to 3 fans magnetically on one cable. So I believe this cable will be rated for 3 fans, and then the other end of the cable fits at this side, and that again connects up magnetically. Tidies up cable management. You've just got a single cable rather than having all this big bunch if you're installing these individually. You could also say that it speeds up the installation process because you've got less cable management, less connections and such like. So they're the SWAFAN EX fans. As I say, you can buy these in white or in black, 120mm or 140mm versions. So the plan is to try and use as many of these SWAFAN EX fans in the build as possible. I've got 2 packs of the 140mm version, so 6 140s, and just a single pack of the 120, so 3 120mm fans. You can see there's a bit of a theme going on with the rest of the part, so it's a white and silver theme that I'm going to be building in this system. And also I'm trying to steer away from like a gaming theme with this one and do something a little different, more like a content creators stroke professional build. We see a lot of gaming builds on Kit Guru, so I thought try something different for this one. So the CPU for this is an Intel Core i9-13900KS. The motherboard is this Gigabyte Z790 Aero G. That's got a lovely silver and white theme going on, which will fit in perfectly with what we're trying to achieve here. Graphics for this one is this absolute unit of a graphics card. It's the Gigabyte RTX 4090 Aero OC, absolute unit of a card. For memory, it's 32 gigabytes, so a 2 times 16 gigabyte DIMMs of this Thermaltake TOUGHRAM XG D5 RGB. So this is DDR5 and it's 6200 mega transfers a second. For storage, it's just a single WD Black SN850 PCIe Gen 4 M.2 NVMe drive. CPU cooler is a Thermaltake TH420 ARGB Sync Snow Edition, so this is the white version. I'll be swapping the fans off that for some SWAFAN EX14 fans. The case is a Thermaltake Ceres 500. Leo did a build in this a few months ago. I think he enjoyed doing the build in this one, so I wanted to check this out myself and see what this case is like. I've not used this before. Again, this is the white version, and I'll be swapping the standard fans out of the case for some of the SWAFAN EX fans. And then the power supply for the system is this Thermaltake TOUGHPOWER GF3. It's an 80 plus gold rated 1 kilowatt fully modular power supply, and it's ATX 3.0 and PCIe 5 ready. Also, to stick with the theme, I've got this TT Mod cable extension kit. These are obviously sleeved in white. They come with black cones, so I've got some white cable cones, and they also don't come with the 12 volt high power cable. This has a native 12 volt high power connection, so I've had to order one separately. Be good for Thermaltake to update these kits, so they do include those. So that's everything we've got for the build. Let's get on with it and see how it turns out. So the build's finished. I think it turned out looking really well indeed. Let me know what you think of it in the comment section. A couple of things I want to mention about the build and about the fans. So the radiator is installed at the front of the case. The 420mm radiator only fits at the front. You can fit a 360 at the top, but you have to install 420s at the front, which is fine. But using the removable fan bracket, if you bolt everything to that first and then try and put the radiator and the fans in from the front, it's a very tight fit with the 420. Tubing can only go at the top. There's not enough space at the bottom for the tubing, and it is a tight squeeze getting it in, but you can do it. It is probably better to bolt the fans and the radiator to that bracket once everything's in the case. Probably easier and probably less stress pushing the radiator in place. In terms of the fans, so they look great. There's no denying that. They look really nice. If you want to play about with the RGB lighting effects, they can look really, really smart. I've set the lighting just to a static white. I think it fits in with this subtle style build better than any RGB lighting effects. There is one minor issue with the fans. Not so much an issue, but it's just something you have to watch out for when you're installing them. So when I initially booted up the system, the fans at the front, only one of them was lighting up. They were all spinning, but only one was lighting up with RGB. The rest of the fans were not powered on at all. It took me a little while to troubleshoot why this had happened. The reason the front ones didn't light up initially was the connections between the fans. So when you screw them into position, you have to be really careful that you get the pressure on the screws all the same, so the fans are lined up perfectly. If they're not perfectly aligned, if you have one or two screws tighter than the others, they slightly go out of position and lose connection. Also, the other fans that were not powering on at all, that was due to the magnetic cable. So again, this doesn't have any keyway that aligns it or locks it in position. It simply relies completely on the magnet to hold it in place, which is okay, but again, this cable has to be perfectly aligned. If it's not, then the fans won't power on at all. It took, as I say, it took me a while to troubleshoot it, but I did find out that Thermaltake actually has a video on how you install the fans, and it does show this problem in the video and shows you how to resolve the problem. So tweaking the fan screws resolves the problem with the RGB lighting, and then the fans that don't light up at all or don't power on at all, you just have to tweak the position of the fan cable. But other than that, the fans look great. The swappable fan blade idea is a good idea in certain scenarios, but it isn't always useful. As you can see in this system, all the fans are running in the same direction, so no need to swap the fan blades over. But if you have a real specific use in mind and you know that you're going to have fans running in different directions, then it will be a handy feature to have, as well as the magnetic design and being able to clip the fans together. It is a good idea. We've seen it with other fans like the Lian Li Uni fans, Seasonic Magflow. It does tidy up the cable management. It's a lot easier just to wire one cable up and manage one cable for 3 fans. That is a great idea. But the fans are quite expensive, between £100 and £120 for the 3 packs, but you are paying for the luxury of having these special features which these fans have. When you're running the fans in the system just idling, I've got them set on the Thermaltake TT RGB software, running at the silent fan profile. So when the system's idling like it is now, they're running at about 1000 RPM, and it's pretty quiet. The noise is completely manageable, not distracting. So if you were using this as like a work PC for content creation or whatever you're planning on doing with it, you would be all right with the noise levels. They're not distracting at all. But when the fans do start to ramp up to higher RPM as temperature increases, they are quite loud. So you will probably want to tune the fan profile to get the best balance between temperature and noise. If you're wondering how they perform, so yes, I've got 3 of the SWAFAN EX14, so the 140mm fans on the 420mm radiator for the CPU cooler. This is the i9 13900KS, so it's a special edition CPU and it is slightly overclocked compared to the 13900K. Just quickly run a Cinebench run, so click on the multi-core and you can see this running. Temperature very quickly gets up to 90 degrees, which is not a surprise, and I can probably hear the fans. They are quite loud as the temperature ramps up and the RPM ramps up. You can see it's sat at about 92 degrees on that run, so that's what I'd expect completely with this CPU and this big radiator. So the fans seem to work well, but gotta admit they do look really nice. So that's the Thermaltake SWAFAN EX build complete. Let me know what you think of the build in the comment section. I hope you've enjoyed watching the video. If you have, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you've not already done so. If you enjoy what we do here at Kit Guru and you want to support us, head over to the store, pick up some merch, or you could even subscribe to the Patreon. And as always, if you want to catch up on all the in-depth technical reviews, head over to the website.